Listen, it's important that we just have a quick flashback to what happened since we last spoke, because even though people won't want to dwell on the negativity, and there was way too much of that in the immediate aftermath, it is important to kind of frame it up for the season, because I'm kind of driving the bus in a certain direction here. We'll get there. But first off, on the exit from the Champions League and the League Cup final itself, I'm sure you were as disappointed as all the rest of us. I think it was a kind of contrasting thing. The Champions League exit didn't feel necessarily completely warranted, although you would say, I think it was almost like a reverse. I think we were the better team on the night, in contrast to what we were in Paris. I think it was, they kind of robbed the result in contrast to what we did in Paris. So when it goes to penalties, then that's just a lottery. The Newcastle game was a whole different kettle of fish. That, to me, felt like a team that didn't really show up. And all my little tinfoil hat conspiracy theories were going off in my head, that the camp was busted up and there were all sorts of fallouts, because they played like lads who were not together. What did you make of the two exits, and would you see a difference between them in terms of how we went out of both competitions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a massive difference in terms of, I don't like to use the word effort, because I do believe that a football always tries his best. I just felt with the Champions League game against PSG at Anfield, that once we got to extra time and it was time for the substitutes, we were showing up. Their substitutes were better than us. And I always felt during extra time, let's take this to penalties. I probably slightly disagree with you. When Liverpool are in the penalty shootout, I don't think it's a lottery. I don't know what our record is in penalty shootouts, but I just seem to think that we always seem to win penalty shootouts. So I thought the best we can hope for here is to take it to penalties, and we'll win, because we're at Anfield. And even during commentary, because commentating in the game, Trevor, I was even saying that when he replaced Szoboszlai and McAllister, that might just be a mistake, because they would have definitely been sure of our penalty takers. But I still thought that whole sort of Liverpool thing at Anfield would see us through. It wasn't to be in the end. It was two fine games between two very good teams. Somebody had to go out. In the end, it was us. I was obviously at Wembley for the Newcastle one. I have to say yet again, Trevor, I was there early because I was a guest of the Football League, and it was just black and white everywhere, Trevor. You know, and that's not me trying to, because I thought, just like they did a couple of years ago when they played Man United, I thought, here they are again. They're playing the occasion again. You know, it's all about, we're at Wembley, and, you know, we're turning up with however many thousand, everybody comes down and everywhere was black and white. And I thought they're going to play the occasion again instead of the game. But obviously us not turning up allowed them to do what they wanted to do, which was get close, you know, get into battles with us, which they won most of them. We had trouble with everything from the first whistle. Set pieces caused us a lot of trouble. Our centre halves weren't themselves. And I thought, it's difficult, Trevor. When you're getting beat 1-0, the tendency when you're getting beat 1-0 is, if you're going to make a substitute, is to try and make a substitute that's going to get you a goal. But if anything at Wembley during the first half, even at half time, I was probably more thinking, I was looking at a different type of a substitution, because I'm looking at Gravenberch and thinking maybe he shouldn't have played in that final. And I know it would have been a big call, because I said it would have been more sense to put on Davenus because you get beat 1-0. I just wonder whether it would have been more sense. And I don't want to go, this is what we should have done. But we had two options. We had the option of starting with Endo in the starting 11. We didn't. And I just thought, as the game was going on, because after 10 minutes, I'm thinking, I don't like this. This might just be another first half performance by Liverpool this season, and we might be able to put it right at half time. But I just thought that the brave substitution would have probably been to take Gravenberch off and put Endo in there to give us something different. And that's not, I mean, nobody's got to pick on Ryan Gravenberch, but even when he had great seasons, you also have games where you're not quite at it. And then I thought it was very evident. And then he went away with the Netherlands, didn't he? And they returned him, you know, because they were slightly worried about his sort of general condition. So it's just little things that I took from the game And as I said before, it would have been brave not to make a substitute to get us back into the game. But I think we needed a foothold, Trevor. I think we needed a foothold in the game that we never got for the duration of the whole game.
Yeah, and it gave, didn't it? It gave the pessimistic members of our fan base and, of course, the general media a great opportunity to do the whole wheels are come off narrative, which then lasted for a fortnight until last night, and honestly lasted through most of the game last night as well, once there was a slight chance that Everton could do something. So it's why last night's victory was so important. We'll get to that. But what kills me about it is the manner of the performance on the day. It did play into that. What is going on here? Have the wheels come off? Is the group no longer harmonious? All that kind of stuff. Because you used the word effort, and I think it's exactly the word that most people were using as they were watching it. How can this group of players be second best? How can they be second to every second ball? How can that happen? And how can it happen to all of them at once? And, you know, you mentioned the substitutes as well. And this is which brings me back to one thing that's a connector between the two. We've been treated to a man who walked into this club, took over from the most charismatic man in football, a lad who built an era and re-established Liverpool as a permanent challenger for all trophies. That's a big ask. There's some big shoes to step into. And we've been treated to a guy who's walked in them seamlessly. And he's calm. He exudes a sort of quiet authority, like he knows what he's doing at all times. He's got a ready wit and humor as well. All of that helps, especially with Liverpool fans. What we have not allowed for Jan is that he's still, comparatively speaking, learning his trade. He is still early doors in his managerial career. Just because he's been successful from the start does not necessarily mean he has learned all he can learn. I mean, you'll have a personal experience of both the playing and the manager side and how year on year you build your experience levels. Is it possible that we're just watching a guy who is working out what to do, both with his squad in European football, which he has a dearth of experience in? He's not an experienced European Champions League manager, and hasn't been in that many finals in those situations. Is it very possible that this is just a situation where, look, you know, we have to allow Arne Slot a bit of time to adjust and to learn, and hope, given the intelligence we've seen from him, that he very much will for next year's Champions League campaign for the next time we're in a final?
I think he almost helped answer that question himself when he did the press conference leading up to the Everton game, where he spoke about how he might have been able to do things slightly different. He mentioned the Southampton game when we won 3-1, and he didn't maybe make as many changes as he should have done. And then he also spoke about he needed the international break, you know, to go back to the Netherlands and maybe give his head a little shake, sort of, you know what I mean, and maybe not talk about. Because if you're involved with Liverpool Football Club, Trevor, and you're involved with the Liverpool Football Club, yeah, it's 24 hours a day, isn't it? You know, and to try and find somewhere where it's not. So him going back home would have probably been massive, because he's probably reflected once he's gone back down and he's looked back over the last few weeks. Because I firmly believe that that's the reason he's got to this ability that him and his backroom staff has in terms of player availability. It's because you look back over how they do things. And I think they will look back over this and go, well, okay, this is slightly different. With the sheer fact that we get further, especially in Champions League, isn't it? So the matches are going to be so much tougher than anything I've ever experienced before. So I might have to do things slightly different. I quite like that. You know, I think that's a big call, because let's not forget, he's about to win the Premier League. So it would have been easy for him just to go, well, what do you want? You know, but you know, he knows that we would like a little bit more, and I think he would also like to give us a little bit more, because I think he knows that's available, isn't it? You know, like when Leicester won the league, well, that's all that was available. They were never going to win anything else, is it? But all the other trophies are always available to us, aren't they? You know, so I think Arne is still dreaming of one season at least putting two together, you know, whichever ones. But I think he's thinking that's possible, isn't it? You know, and that would then make you, you know, stand amongst the greatest we've ever had in terms of managers.
Yeah, and it's on the way, you get the feeling. But it's not stopping people. I saw poor old Michael Owen getting his arse handed to him today by Virgil. I hadn't seen this. I think it was post-match on whatever channel Michael's working for now at the moment. And he, to be fair to the kid, he framed it up nicely. He just said, you know, you had this chance, you had that chance. And he said, like, what do you make of the potential that could have been for a very special season? Virgil's deadpanned. He's just gone, so is it not a special season if we win the league? And I swear to God, man, I heard him say it. I saw his face. I listened to his tone of voice. It could have been Dalglish. It had that sort of borderline aggressive. What are you saying about my football club? It dug in. I loved it, man. I loved it. I thought it was great. Not to pick on Michael, but Michael was the latest person to articulate this idea that it's going to be a disappointing season for Liverpool to only win the league. Now, the league is not won yet, and you and I are not counting any chickens, but it's a remarkable statement. That it's a remarkable thing to say. And it's not just the fans of rival clubs, Arsenal Fan TV or United fans on their podcasts or whatever. It's the big channels. It's the main big channels. They're talking about, oh, Liverpool had the quadruple in their grasp and now it's only the league. As a man who's won a league title, you know what that takes. You know how much it's a testament to you being the very best team. None of those players are going to be disappointed in the least. It's a wild narrative, isn't it? It's funny to see it being spun. You wonder, would it be done if another club was in that position?
Well, I don't know, but I do think there's a tendency in modern football that unless you win everything, you can't be that great. You know, we question and go, well, yeah, but he didn't win. Or Liverpool, you know, we didn't get very far in the FA Cup. We didn't get as far as we would have liked in the Champions League. And people go, well, they can't be all that, you know. And then they go, we lost against Plymouth. Yeah, well, we lost against Plymouth for a reason. The manager picked a team he thought was really good enough. We didn't. Then we lost against PSG, who is a super team, but they're from the French league. So people go, the French league is nothing special, but PSG is a special team. Take nothing away. And so I do think there's a tendency, like people go, well, if you don't win it all, you can't be that good. So I think that's a real shame. But I like that from Trent, isn't it? Because you know yourself. Do you have any idea what it takes? You know, Michael Owen should know, shouldn't he? I understand what he's trying to say is that winning a treble, which was the most likely, wasn't it? It's obviously greater than winning one, isn't it? But take nothing away from winning a trophy for each other. I mean, we've seen the reactions from Newcastle, isn't it? You know, from the trophy that they won. You know, it is magic, and it takes a lot to win trophies. You know, there's only so very few on offer.